Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? So, once again, this is Dr. Yvette McQueen, MD, a global physician on a mission to educate about health, travel wellness, and disease prevention. So, I'm here, physicians around the world, and I'm here with my fellow emergency doc, Dr. Kimberly Brown. Hey, Dr.
Hey,
Kim.
thanks for having me. I'm super excited.
Yay! So you are a traveler just like I am. But when did you first get your passion for travel?
I'm gonna put that bug on my mom. She is the one that really influenced me. I remember way back, I was in elementary school. I don't remember when, but she won a trip by watching a TV show or watching a movie to Jamaica. And she
Wow.
had been to the Bahamas before, but this was like a random trip that she just won. And so she took me to Jamaica. And I remember getting so excited about it, packing. And I'm from Wisconsin. So we went from the blustering cold, literally snow is up to here, right? And we are like packing ourselves up and we're going to Jamaica in the dead of winter from Wisconsin, and then coming back and peeling and having tan lines and having cool things to tell people. So I think that was the first thing. She later took me to the Bahamas, and she had a job where she would travel locally within the state of Wisconsin. So she would take me to like her little work trips. She'd pull me out of school, just get my homework, and I would travel with her. So she always says, and even to this day, she always wanted to expose me to things. And she always wanted to let me know that the world isn't just what I see in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, on our block on 10th Street or 19th Street or wherever we were living at the time. So
Okay,
I'm gonna put this on my mom. And
great.
so yes,
Yeah, exposure is everything. Exposure
exactly.
is everything.
Exactly.
So you had a passport early on then, huh?
Actually, no. So when I went to Jamaica, apparently all I needed was some sort of an identification card. It wasn't
Oh,
considered a full passport. Um, I didn't get my passport until I was 23,
mm-hmm.
23, 24. And that was because I found an opportunity going to a conference to study medicine or do pre-health stuff, because I was pre-med at the time, in Ecuador. And at first I was going to go to India, and then my friend talked me out of it. She said, no, I'll go to Ecuador. And so that's when I got my passport, and it's been on and popping ever since.
Cool. Oh, pre-med conferences. I like that. Like conferences and destinations. Oh yeah, sign me
Yes,
up
I
anytime.
love a conference. I do
Oh
love a
yeah,
conference.
definitely. So you had the opportunity to live and study outside the United States. Tell us about that.
That's fun. So obviously, I'm a doctor. I did not get into medical school right away. It was the MCAT for me that really, I just couldn't get past it. I couldn't get a great score. So fast forward, I ended up
I'm
getting
gonna
that.
stop you right now. For those
Yeah.
that don't know, the MCAT is the admission exam for medical school. Okay,
Yes, the
you're good.
medical college admissions test. It's notoriously hard, and you can study, study, study for it. But the way they ask questions at that time, I wasn't prepared the way I thought I would be prepared to take an exam like that. So I took it a few times, did not do well. So I ended up going to the University of Florida to study public health. And that's when I got the opportunity to go to Ecuador. And when I came back, I was having a conversation with my friend because I was applying to medical school again. And he's like, well, why haven't you applied to the Caribbean? I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I just thought it had such a negative stigma. I've heard, some naysayers talk negatively about it. But at that time, I did know some people that were on the island that I ended up going to, was the island of Dominica. So I had a call with my really good friend, and she basically convinced me. I put in my application, and a few months later I got accepted. And like
Ooh,
almost a year to the day, I was flying out to go to medical school. So that was
Oh, that's
how I got there.
wonderful. Yeah, I know that some people do put the stigma on foreign schools or Caribbean schools, and I know you are basically an advocate for students that are doing school outside medical school outside the United States. So great for that. I'm glad. Keep going because I'm sure your education. I found out education sometimes where you have different experiences than us, actually you come out above. So how is medicine different on the island than the United States?
Absolutely. So it's interesting you said that. So the island of Dominica specifically is one of the lesser resource island in the Caribbean. You hear Caribbean, you think of white sand beaches and Mai Tais and rum punch and steel drums, and it's that, but not as much in Dominica. And so since the island is a little bit poorer and very rural, I would say, we did not have things like MRIs. I think we had to fly people out or, get someone on the boat to get CT scans. They relied very heavily on x-rays and ultrasounds. And so for the non-medical people that are watching, we can tell a lot with CT scans and MRIs. Those are like the gold standard. That's been some of the best, technology that has happened to medicine. And so sometimes we would really have to depend less on technology and more so on our history taking, talking to the patient, and really getting a good physical exam
Yeah.
and honing your ears to actually listen to heart murmurs and different lung sounds and different belly sounds to really get to the diagnosis. I think we in more developed countries have the ability to like, oh, you're having belly pain. Okay, we'll just get a CT scan. And we really don't rely on our physical exam so much. But I'm actually super grateful that I was taught in that way because I've still been complimented. When I started residency a few years ago, my program director complimented me on my physical exam skills because I just really had to depend on that when we were seeing patients on the island. So I spent about 2 years in Dominica for my basic sciences, and then I came back to the United States and did my clinical rotations. And again, for the non-medical people that are watching, medical school is 4 years. You've got basic sciences where you're basically doing mainly book work. You do see some patients, but you're definitely not responsible for anything. And then the next 3 years, and that's the third and fourth year, you
Yeah.
get more involved in the hospitals and clinics, and you're seeing more patients, and you have a little bit more responsibility, but you're still very much supervised, and you have to check out everything that you're doing to a supervising doctor that is over you. So I would say that the technology was the limiting factor. Culturally, I think the people on the island of Dominique were very warm and welcoming. And we also had opportunities to serve people that were indigenous to the island as well. They're a very small Carib population there, and they have their own, little place that they live. And so working with that patient population was really great as well. So.
Cool, great. So living there for 2 years, how did you develop a support system?
Well, thankfully, we had social media. So I stayed in contact with a lot of people back at home. So whether it was Skype calls, lots of Facebook, WhatsApp, like messaging. So I was in contact with my friends from home and family from home. And then, basically we're in a cocoon. So the medical school itself has a lot of different things that you can do. You can work out. There's different, student organizations. So I was in SNMA. I was in the emergency medicine interest group. I was in Phi Delta Epsilon, which is a medical fraternity for pre-med and medical students. So there was a great community there. It was already kind of built in, but social media was the best way to kind of keep in contact at home. And then I went home not infrequently. After a couple of semesters, I did fly back to the States and, touch back home and then fly back and study again. So it was good to kind of have that separation sometimes.
Oh, great. So social media was not a bad thing
It's
then.
not a bad thing all the time.
So, but and you wrote a book about that, didn't you?
Yes, I written a couple of books, but I more specifically wrote a book called Still MD. It's with my friend Dr. Nina Loom, and she also went to a medical school in the Caribbean, but she's also from Cameroon. So she had the experience of being an international student, like a truly international student. Um,
Mhm.
she went from Cameroon to oh man, of course, I forgot where she went to medical school, but she went to medical school in the Caribbean, and then she did residency in the United States, in Kentucky, and she works as a hospitalist now. And for the non-medical people, hospitalists are doctors that take care of patients while they're hospitalized in the hospital. They don't have a clinic or anything like that. So should you be admitted to the hospital, they take care of you from your admission all the way to your discharge. And so she's really fabulous. But we got together at a conference that we met each other at, and decided to share our story. And it was great. It's been a great support for international medical students. And I'm really glad that we got that accomplished. So, one of my babies.
Okay. What's the quick concept of the book? Still MD?
So the full title is Still MD, Two Physicians Advice for International Medical Students and Graduates. And so what Dr. Nina and I decided to do is basically tell our story about how we even got to even getting into a Caribbean medical school, trying to dispel the myths and dispel the negativity around going into a Caribbean school, and also walk you through the journey from when we started on the island until we started residency after graduation. So it's really so other students can see themselves in us and realize, okay, if they did it, they're regular schmegular people. They may not have done well on MCAS, but still became doctors. It was really like a guidebook and inspiration. And also some great advice along the way about how to interview, how to get yourself in front of the right people, how to network. Those are things that are really, really important for Caribbean and other international medical students to know how to do.
Okay, great. Oh, that's great. Reaching back. I love
Yes,
it. I
absolutely.
love
Somebody reached back for me, so I have to do the same.
it. Great. Love it. So, with your travels internationally, what are three tips you would give to people about traveling internationally or even living internationally?
Have an open mind is number one, especially if you live in the United States and you're traveling elsewhere. I think the way our culture is in America, we think that we are the end all be all as Americans, and we don't realize that some of our mannerisms and our culture is extremely different than other people. So just have an open mind about everything: food, how you may travel, different customs. That's a really good thing to do. You brought up the social media and how did I keep in contact with people at home. So always, always, always try to have a way to keep in contact with somebody back at home. You know, there's a lot going on in the world, and making sure that somebody knows where you are, what you're doing, and how to contact you, your travel plans. That's always important to stay safe. Um, and as well, I would say if you're traveling to another country that may have a different language, try to learn a few things like courtesies, like please, thank you, hello, goodbye. I went to Spain with my brother for his 40th birthday, and I was trying to speak Spanish, but they could hear that I wasn't Spanish speaking accent, but I knew that like I was trying to, at least. But they're like, "Oh no, ma'am. How can I help you? It's not like que paso
Let's go
anymore."
to
They're like,
English.
just speak your English, friend. And the same thing happened in France because I took French for like I think 5 years.
Mhm.
And I was trying to brush up on my French. So when we got to France, I could, say bonjour, comment ça va? Da, da, da. It went only so far. So, but yes, but I know that they appreciate that. So I think that's a good thing to do, to try to endear yourself and also to really try to embrace wherever you're going's culture, to just at least learn a few words so you can kind of mix and mingle a little bit.
That sounds great. Well, thank you, Dr. Kim.
You're
Now, as everybody know, I'm in emergency physician. She's emergency physician. So we bonded
yes.
and we love travel. So This is wonderful, wonderful. So, if anyone want to follow you
Mhm.
or find your book, where should they go?
Well, Still MD is available on Amazon, and it's actually available on audiobook. It's available on paperback, and it's also ebook. You can go on Amazon. If you want a paperback copy and you want an autograph copy, you can go to my website at drkimberlyb.com. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Dr. Kimberly B as well.
Okay, so it's called Still MD. You said you can get it on Amazon. It's an
Mhm.
ebook and audio, and that's
And
your web
paperback. Hmm.
and paperback. Okay. They can also go to your website, drkimberlyb.com.
Hmm.
And on Instagram, they find you as Dr. Kimberly B, like
Yes.
the letter B.
Just the
Okay,
letter B. Yep.
just the letter B. Well, I am so glad that you joined us today, and that's great. And I hope there's some students out there knowing that, there's alternatives for medical school and other, because I mean, you did public health first too.
Right.
So there's all alternatives to find it. And you can go to her book, Still MD, and find it. And you can go to her website, drkimberlyb.com. Thank you,
Thank
Dr. Kim. I know
you.
you have patients to go back to or have a shift or maybe even relax from a shift. So I thank you for being with us. Okay, everybody. I am who? Yvette McQueen, MD, an emergency physician and travel doctor. You can find me on all social media, Yvette McQueen, MD, and my website is YvetteMcQueenMD.com. So remember, travel well, stay safe. Ciao for now. Peace.